just around Nicaragua, maybe into Costa Rica as well. But for a good part of Central America, it should be fine, dry and sunny. Fine, dry and sunny too across central and southern parts of Europe. Some lovely sunshine here. We have some wintry weather persisting across those eastern areas. -1 there for Moscow. Over towards the northwest, it's wet and windy, but at least it's mild.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
All the news, all the time. aljazeera.net/English.
It's the right ingredients, in just the right amount. It's 729 layers, and several well-spent hours. It's when 1 degree too high is too high. 1 minute too long is just too long. And then you remember, this is just the appetizer. A 5-star menu on board Qatar Airways. Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
Hello again, this is Al Jazeera. A reminder of what's been happening in Egypt over the past few hours. Thousands of anti-Mubarak protesters have gathered in Tahrir Square once again for another day of rallies. And that protest mood seems to be spreading. Thousands are now reported to be demonstrating outside the country's parliament. Egypt's Vice President Omar Suleiman says a decree has been signed to amend the constitution and carry out democratic reforms. But he's been criticized by the United States for saying that Egypt isn't ready for democracy. Well, of course, it's the youth that's leading these protests in Egypt, and more young people, it seems, are joining in. Al Jazeera's Jackie Rowland has been to meet some of them.
The youth of Egypt is leading this revolution, and the protesters are getting younger by the day. The slogans are well known by now. The people want Mubarak to leave. But it never hurts to have a memory jogger. The protesters want democracy, and they've already achieved it in the square. Everyone has a voice. Mubarak is still in power, but the mood is one of euphoria. The people are celebrating their newfound freedom to speak their minds.
It's my first day to come out here. I'm so overwhelmed that finally I have like a chance to speak up my right, to stand for all the people who died.
In Egypt we have 7,000 years of civilization, and we are the same, and we go back, not go forward, not forward.
But Tahrir Square remains the epicenter, and people continue to come in their hundreds of thousands. Not one demonstration, but many. Everyone has their own way to protest, in words, in pictures, in song. But the message is always the same. The people want the removal of the regime.
The vigil in the square is turning into an endurance test. The slogans are the same. They're calling on Mubarak to leave now. But the people who come here day in and day out realize that they're in it for the long haul.
Hundreds of people have died since this uprising began, but new Egyptians continue to be born. This is Sarah's first visit to the square. She's 1 month old. The writing on her headband says leave. Her father hopes she will grow up in a new Egypt. Jackie Rowland, Al Jazeera, Cairo.
In other news, Al Jazeera has obtained exclusive footage of the funeral of an Afghan detainee who died in US custody at Guantanamo Bay last week. Awal Gul was held for nearly 9 years over alleged links to the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. According to the US military, he died of apparent natural causes. Zaina Khoda reports from Kabul.
It was a funeral for a controversial man who died under controversial circumstances. It was also Awal Gul's homecoming after 9 years at Guantanamo prison, where he died last week. According to the U.S. military, he was a Taliban commander with ties to Osama bin Laden. He was never formally charged, and his lawyer long argued that Gul quit the Taliban movement before the 9/11 attacks.
Awal didn't have any property. He was a jihadi commander who fought against the Soviets. He was not a traitor. He is now a martyr.
In his hometown of Jalalabad in eastern Afghanistan, outrage over what they called his unjust detention and demise. Death to America and long live the Taliban, they chanted. The Guantanamo Detention Center, as well as other U.S.-run prisons, have been a major source of resentment towards the coalition forces in Afghanistan. Resentment that the Taliban exploits. A statement released by the Taliban's Tora Borasel describes Awal Gul as a hero, a martyr, and a jihadi commander. They have also vowed to take revenge against what they called the Crusaders. His family is also demanding an investigation. The U.S. military says Gul collapsed and died of apparent natural causes after exercising on a machine. Relatives dispute that claim and insist his death was not due to natural causes. While Washington admits it is working hard to win the hearts and minds of ordinary Afghans, this latest incident does not appear to help America's cause, leaving an ever-watchful Taliban to seize the moment. Zaina Khudr, Al Jazeera, Kabul.
The president of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, has arrived home, pledging to work with Omar al-Bashir, the leader of the North. It comes a day after the announcement of a referendum result in which Southerners voted overwhelmingly to secede. Harun Mutasa reports from Juba.
Salva Kiir returned to Southern Sudan with an enormous challenge. The region's president gets a warm welcome from people who voted overwhelmingly for secession in last month's referendum. After months of political wrangling, he promised to reward President Omar al-Bashir for letting the South go peacefully.
We will work together to help Sudan regain its pride. We will assist in persuading the world to remove sanctions from Sudan. We will appeal together for the removal of the Sudan name from the countries that are in the list of terrorist countries.
President Kiir also promised to work with the Khartoum government to end the conflict in Darfur. It seems all is on track for Independence Day on the 9th of July.
People here are still savoring this historic moment, but voting for secession was the easy part. Setting up a government capable of standing on its own feet is one of many challenges.
After independence, an interim government will be installed, a new constitution written, and eventually elections held. Tribal divisions and different political ideologies could hamper progress. The Sudan People's Liberation Movement, or SPLM, is the ruling party here. Some feel the SPLM is too powerful.
No new country succeeds when it is being led by only one political party. There will be a lot of problems because one political party cannot be able to put the new country on its shadow, and they said we are going to do it. For the last 6 years, the present SPLM failed completely. There was a lot of corruption, there was a lot of tribalism, no delivery of service to the people.
Other outstanding issues to resolve include the contested region of IBA, border demarcation, and oil sharing. People here have high expectations. Access to water, education, and healthcare are just some of the priorities. Managing such high expectations is a mammoth task. Harun Mutasa, Al Jazeera, Juba, Southern Sudan.
Pirates are reported to have taken control of an Italian oil tanker. A spokesman for the Italian Navy says that shots were fired at the ship, but there are no reports of injuries. It happened some 800 kilometers off the coast of India and 1,200 kilometers off the coast of Somalia. 17 Indians and 5 Italians are on board. The founder of the whistleblowing website WikiLeaks has been in court in the UK for the second day of an extradition hearing. Julian Assange is wanted in Sweden for questioning over sexual assault claims. Lawrence Lee reports.
Extradition hearings demand that the accused has to find a reason why he shouldn't be sent for trial. And so Julian Assange's defence team has sought to find experts to undermine the case against him. Much of the focus of this has been on the conduct of the Swedish prosecutor Marianne Nee. She isn't here, but is central to the case. Despite much criticism of her conduct, evidence emerged of the effort she claimed to have made to speak to Assange before resorting to a European arrest warrant. On September the 21st, Marianne Nee first contacted Julian Assange via his lawyer, and an interview was arranged for the 28th. By the 27th of September, Assange couldn't be reached, so officials issued a domestic arrest warrant. That same day, Assange left Sweden. On October the 4th, Assange was due in Stockholm but failed to turn up. Between October the 5th and the 12th, attempts were made to contact Assange by SMS, but there was no reply. According to the Swedish prosecutor, Assange was told he wasn't a wanted man and that he wasn't at risk of arrest if he flew back to Arlanda Airport in Stockholm. Indeed, he was even offered the choice of attending an interview discreetly so the media wouldn't find out about it. They said it must have been crystal clear to him from the 27th of September when he left Sweden that they were extremely anxious to interview him.